Well, I'm going to introduce John Stanovcak, who's going to be the moderator for the panel. John's from CSG. John's been a volunteer for PACE for many years, even though he's only 25 now. He received a chairman's award at last year's ACX 19 for the unbelievable volunteer work. And well, just on his personally, John does a lot for me as a CEO. Someone I can always count on. And, this was even a last minute thing. And that was after we were all in Denver together being snowed out, where CSG was actually one of our lead sponsors there. So always appreciate John. So I'm going to have John introduce the panel.
I think that's the first time Stuart's ever said anything nice about me, like in public. You know, and definitely well appreciated, Stuart, and happy to be here. We got a great panel today. This is a similar panel to what we did last year. Welcome back, Lisa. I'm going to start off with her. She is Senior Vice President of Global Customer Service in support of TravelZoo's 28 million members and clients worldwide. She's definitely well versed in the travel. She was previously Vice President of Operations and Customer Service for Priceline.com. I'm sure most of us have went and visited that site once or twice. There she led sales and service for the .com and its affiliate partners from startup through a decade plus of transformational changes. She's currently the director of SOCAP International, the Customer Care's leading professional development association, advisory board member with Execs in the Know, a global community of customer experience executives, and future PACE something or another.
Wow.
Maybe.
That sounds great.
Yeah, absolutely. Sitting to the left of her, we have Frank Pettinato, who's an accomplished leader, having held C-level positions in consumer goods, business services, and technologies industries. His particular areas of expertise include strategic leadership, sales and marketing initiative, and technology. Currently, Frank is the CEO of iPacesetters, that is a global BPO operation specializing in publishing, telecommunications, and healthcare sectors. Next to him, I'm going to screw it up now. You guys read the panel, open up your thing, and tell me how you would pronounce his last name. Is Figueiredo.
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 Very good.
Okay. He not only has a great deal of patience to deal with me, but he also has over 15 years of experience working in the MSO and BPO space, delivering collaborative outcome-based solutions and operations that span North America, EMEA. He's a very passionate leader who fosters business solutions built around the inflection point of customer's journey. Currently, he's a director of performance and strategic relationships for Comcast, works with call center business partners on implementation and sustainment of operational excellence initiatives. So there you have it. We have a lot of experience up here, a lot of different perspectives from managing more of the inbound side of business to the outbound side of business to the corporate side of business to the BPO side of the business. And that's really what we want to do for you guys today, was really try to provide a well-rounded 360-degree view of how you can overcome operational challenges. Following a great session here, really looking at how you're driving empathy and how you're connecting with people from that perspective. So really just wanted to talk to, I guess Lisa, you'd probably be great for this, looking at how they were connecting that. How do you connect and create a culture in the contact center if you outsource your customer service?
Yes. Just by way of background, we do outsource our customer service. I have teams that are based here in the U.S. that serve our North America client and customer base, and I have a team that operates out of Europe that supports our European customer client base. Also have an in-house operation within Asia Pacific, but I'm going to focus on the outsource operations for the purpose of this discussion. You know, when I sat in the audience last year, same time, Chris Wallace, who's founder and president of Interview, was here, and he said one thing that I've never been able to get out of my head, and that is, you can't train someone to love your brand. Right? You cannot train someone to love your brand. And I literally think about that every day, because culture is hard. It's really, really hard. And life in a contact center is not pretty most days. I remember for a meeting somewhere in Manhattan a while ago, and I was sitting in the waiting room. I waited for about 10 or 15 minutes watch sort of the ebb and flow of people go through, listen to conversations. And when I got into the meeting, the first thing the person said to me is, "What do you think about our culture?" Now, what I really wanted to say was, I have no idea what your culture is all about, right? People mistake ping pong tables and beer taps as culture, when it's really about what happens when no one's looking, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do people behave when the lights are off at the end of the day? And that's not something you can just create or manufacture. It's really got to come from your mission and everything you do operationally to support that mission. And it's really hard. Our mission at Travelzoo as an enterprise is to inspire people to jump off the couch and explore the world, right? We have the best deals to the best places all around the globe. But in the contact center, right, really matters how we interact with people, that human-to-human contact. We tell our teams, your mission is to be a trusted friend to all of our members. We want you to talk to them like you talk to your mom, to your aunt, to your cousin, to your best friend, right? What would you say to them? How would you engage with them? That's how we want you to engage with our customers. And so it's our responsibility as leaders to make certain that every operational practice that we design, every operational practice that we put in place supports this idea of being a trusted friend. It's how flexible we are with our policies. It's how we write all of our conversations with customers, and you just keep going on and on and on, right? Does that operational practice support that mission to be a trusted friend? And that's one of the ways, right? One of the foundational ways that we try to support culture in the contact center.
Perfect. No, I couldn't agree with you more, Lisa. I think I shared with you guys a quote that I've heard my CEO say many, many times, and it just resonated with me more and more as you were talking. And he always says, what we celebrate and what we tolerate is what makes our culture. And I think that's a great kind of synopsis of that. Herc, you do a lot of that as well. And looking at Comcast, it's really almost creating brand ambassadors throughout your business partners. Can you talk about what some of those best practices are and the importance of, really having that product knowledge so they can help those customers?
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely do that. And first of all, we got to acknowledge that our front line, the jobs are difficult. We're constantly changing process. We're constantly changing policies. We're growing new, especially Comcast. We have all these different innovations, and we have all of these evolutions of our products and services. So it's really important for us, I think, to make sure that we're able to get out there and have the frontline employees really experience our products. And one of the examples and best practices that we have is we recently, if you guys are on social media, you'll be able to look this up and kind of see the impact. We deployed this Future of Awesome tour. And this Future of Awesome tour, what we did was, Comcast is not just a video provider. We're not just providing entertainment. We're providing experiences to customers through all of our different, across our portfolio. We also obviously have an NBC. We have the NASCAR series. We have all these great different pieces that make up Comcast and make up our brand. So we want to take that on the road. We took that on the road to all of our call centers. Obviously, not all of them. We went through 10. There's a lot of call centers we have to go through, but we basically packaged this up. Think of it like a road show. Like we had the NASCAR, actual NASCAR, and the trophy there. We had products and services and subject matter experts in booths, and each one for mobile, for video, for even courtesy services was there. To really have a one-stop shop where agents were allowed to go out, get hands-on, even touch the car, interact with our experiences, find out how to use the X5 product, what the speed, coverage, and control, and keep on messaging that within our communications internally. That's one of our key statements. We really want to make sure customers get the speed, coverage, and control. And how can we get them actually feel and touch and get hands-on as far as being a brand ambassador of Comcast, really seeing the breadth and the scope as to what we have as far as services. So I would say some of the best practices was really putting this roadshow together. If you guys see the video, go online, you'll see exactly the impact it's had. I mean, we've had comments from employees saying, this is why I work for Comcast. This is such a great place to work. And then obviously these things go viral. They come back, they go home, they tell their spouse, they tell their friends, they tell their families, and very much like our speaker was mentioning today, you know, it goes viral, right? Not something you can actually put an investment dollar in to measure the ROI, but we know we wanted to do that to make that investment to get out there online.
That's great. I mean, just the name of that, the Future Tour of Awesome, it just sounds like something that's fun. You know, I definitely am probably going to check that online as soon as we get done here. I might have already started doing it, and I was like, wait a minute, I probably should yet. Frank, looking from your perspective, you know, you're more on the BPO side, working with telcos and things like that. How do you take what he just said and try to carry that out in your day-to-day operations?
Yeah, it's actually interesting because culture is critical to success, because not only do we have to run our operation, we have to delight and support our clients. So we developed a purpose-based culture at iPacesetters, and you know, the three basic tenets are to support and develop the associate, delight our client, and support our community. Each one of those has activities associated with it that we ask that the whole team, management and associates get involved in. And some examples are first level management training to engage our associates. And we do that we do that by training them how to coach and develop the agents better, how to develop those types of relationships so they can have the level of engagement we want. Other fun things like gamification, where the agents can build avatars and compete in contests and so forth. But delighting the clients is actually the main focus of the organization, right? We've got to make sure that everything we do is fully focused on delighting the client and aligning our goals with their goals. And the piece I'm most proud of is we basically started our own not-for-profit called realpurpose.org. And that's really meant for our associates and our management team to engage with the local community. The money raised from kind of the traditional cost center fundraising goes to support the organization. The organization has two kind of missions. One is to actually, interestingly enough, support our own associates. If they happen to have an issue that needs, that has financial need, such as a medical issue, et cetera, that's one. And the other one is, much like we heard this morning, which is redirect the money to the local community.
Sure.
So when you have, this is a synergistic effect of this, right? It becomes infectious. People feel like there's meaning coming to work. If we tie it into supporting the client, and it aligns with the client's missions or goals, then you get a good match. And at the end of the day, there's no lack of perhaps BPOs globally. But that relationship that you build with your clients and getting that cultural alignment is absolutely critical, because you kind of build the relationship and break those barriers down and be a true partner. Mm-hmm. And I'm all about the synergy, right? So the 1 and 1 equals 7 scenario, right? And to do that, and this is a lot of work, right? So this isn't easy, as Lisa and her could attest to, and Lisa made me chuckle. Like it is a firefight every day in a call center. So to get your head out of what's happening every single minute or every single hour and start to have these strategic initiatives in place and make it sound effortless it's a big job. It takes a lot of effort. So I mean, that's the way we approach it. We're big advocates of the purpose-based culture. I agree with what the speaker said, that you can't save yourself into profitability, you can't keep cutting costs. But what it can do is build a culture that will drive performance, drive engagement, and move every single fundamental component of the business. And ultimately, I'd like to think that we've got some clients here. I'd like to think the clients feel that.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point. I mean, just trying to maintain a culture is one thing, then looking at that culture, how are you actually, going to continuously drive, CX improvement? Lisa, looking at what you're doing, I mean, how are you still driving that CX improvement for operations, quality, efficiency, while maintaining that culture?
Yeah. Well, I think, we like to talk about simplification in our business, right? We are all very capable, competent people. We probably all have big egos. I don't know, I do.
Why don't you look at me when you say that?
And we love to think that, we can manage 30 things at a time and do them all well. And if you're that person, I would love to meet you. I'll have lunch with you and pick your brain. But I think we get, our eyes are bigger than our stomachs sometimes. And when we talk about CX, we like to think as service leaders that we own CX, but CX is many things. CX is actually everything, right? It's every touch point your customers have with your brand. And if your primary role is to manage service or to manage the contact center, what you really have control over is what happens at that point of contact between the customer and your team. And that's your experience that you're in control of, that you have authority over. So we realized that we couldn't do 30 things. I don't have an unlimited budget. I don't have an army of people. I have a very small team, but we have this relentless focus on continuous improvement. And so we really only look at customer satisfaction with service and our customer satisfaction with our representatives, RSAT. We call that RSAT. And those are things we can control, because we control everything that happens at that point of contact between the customer and the team. And so that was a big strategy shift for us. As a result of that decision, simplification, we completely changed our QA process, and we completely changed the way that we approach surveying our customers about their satisfaction with that point of contact. And it made all the difference to us in getting to understand what it's really like to be a customer of Travelzoo, right? So we only ask questions that we can act on. There's only 6 of them, because I can maybe do 6 things at a time. So I kind of like that number. And we really focused on understanding what customers' expectations are for our customer service, right? We all love to talk about, I'm going to meet and exceed your expectations, right? And I'm going to exceed your expectations. Or fact is, I have no idea what your expectations are. And your expectations are different than Frank's, they're different from John's, they're different from Chris's. And you can't be all things to all people, right? We're making independent decisions about what level of service we want to deliver when, no offense to anybody in the room, you really don't have a clue what your customers want, right? And so we got very serious about trying to dig that out of our customer survey. And as a result, we have much richer syntax, we have more contacts. We really understand what happened at that moment of interaction between the customer and the team. The customer's telling us, here's exactly what I wanted to happen, here's what I wanted to happen before I picked up the phone. Here's what really happened when I talked to your team. All right, and here's what I wish could have gone better. And this is now how we're stringing along themes and ideas for improvements in the service experience and the product experience by asking people specifically, what did you want to happen? What did you want to happen? What did you want to happen? And we think we're onto something, and it's allowed us to fix things faster and think in a much different way about what needs to happen inside the contact center.
And Lisa, how does that work? So you're operating in globally.
Yes.
And do you see that expectation materially different by market? I'm kind of curious about that.
Well, that's really a good question.
Sure.
And operating within North America and in Europe. In Europe, we're in Germany, France, Spain, and the UK.
Okay.
And I'll say, generally, people want to have the same kinds of experiences. They want you to treat them with courtesy and respect. They want you to be fair and honest. And obviously, they want to get the solution to their problem, and they want to get it quickly. The degree to which people will tolerate any variances in the delivery of those attributes can vary by country. And we find in particular in Germany, there are some different ways we need to approach problem solving and how we mirror the customer's behavior when we're talking to them or on the phone or in email. But generally, the differences among customers in different geographies have not required us to change significantly what we do. We like to run on a global standard.
So looking at that, out of my own curiosity, if you have those open-ended questions like that, you're not getting this checkbox, you can't pull all that together and look at what the results are like that, and especially with different languages. So what's kind of the back-end process to look at this and say, what are the common denominators that we can do differently to approach Germany different than we do the UK?
Yes. Well, we're lucky that we have a pretty lean team.
Sure.
I'm looking at, the collective my team is looking at about 1,000 responses a month. Looking through every response. We have text analytics built into our system. We have sentiment analysis built into our system. So those machine tools are helping us categorize and identify themes.
Sure.
But we also have, as probably most of you do, a red flag alert so that managers are instantly alerted when a customer is not happy, and we have a standard to make it right within 24 hours.
Yep.
So in that way, it's very important for us to know that customers understand that they're going to be listened to and that we are going to act upon problems, and we do that quickly. For Comcast, it might be a bigger challenge to read and act on every single piece of feedback, and that's where technology can help you do that at scale. Right now, the system that we've introduced is fairly new, and it's really important for us to get that emotional connection with the customer by looking at everything that comes in every day. And it's pretty easy to spot, problems and opportunities.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I can comment on that. I mean, that's great. Comcast itself, it's a huge organization, right? So there's a lot of feedback coming in. How are we able to kind of get into the feedback? How are we able to respond? One of the things that we've deployed out in 2016, and one of our CEO and just the overall company mission is customer service is our number one product, right? So that's our mission. That's what the start of any all hands, any type of conversation, communications out there. That's really even with the front line. And one of the ways of the tools that we're leveraging is the NPS, so Net Promoter Score. So the Net Promoter Score was something that Comcast went in very heavy and invested. And how we're leveraging, and we're seeing improvements in the overall NPS score. What I think want to kind of piggyback on your question is we're surveying our customers with that NPS, right? It's that one question. What we've done is we've actually implemented a process where not only internal, but our outsourced partners, vendor partners, where the actual management and the supervisors, myself included, any level of management in the organization is empowered to do a callback. And so a callback means you are actually looking through the survey, you pick out, it could be a promoter, it could be a detractor, and it's not something where you're only calling detractors, right? You don't want to just know about the bad, you want to know about the good, and be able to continue doing the good. But all the way through the front line to the supervisor level. So, Frank, for example, in his organization, he has a supervisor and they're doing this campaign. That supervisor is looking at his agent's NPS results and making a callback to that actual customer, learning the good, the bad, the ugly, and then being able to take that and be able to feed that back into his team huddles and coachings. And we've seen a lot of goodness as far as just overall improvements coming from that. We've done about 1 million callbacks year to date so far. So
That is great. You look, so many people look at those extra things as additional cost. And, you save so much money by what you learn
Yeah.
and what you can replicate from that. That's fantastic. And Frank, expanding on what Lisa was talking about from, continuous improvement more on the BPO side, I mean, you have to have all types of tools and stuff to be able to monitor and control that. I mean, what is the ROI and uses of voice and advanced analytics from the BPO perspective?
It actually ties right into what Herc said. So we work with a partner, Comcast partner, that does monitor all our calls 100% and does voice analytics and does an excellent job of giving feedback to us.
Yep.
Which basically is part of the continuous improvement process of CSAT and NPS. So all our calls go to the third party is using voice analytics and coming back and giving us scores in a meaningful manner so that we can, as Lisa mentioned, we can take action against it. And our organization works closely with Comcast and the third party to take that information and react very quickly to it, as quickly as we can. And the scale, as you can imagine, is huge. So that's specific to Comcast. For other partners, some have invested in that technology, some have not. We actually have our own platforms that we use for voice analytics. And what we're doing is we're monitoring these, in this case, the outbound phone calls. We're looking for traditional fraud and compliance issues, but we're also looking for script optimization. We're looking for coaching opportunities on the agent. We're looking at sentiment. We're looking at emotion. And that information, or I'll call it enriched data, is put into a larger database where we then combine it with other attributes or data we collect in the contact center, such as your traditional telephone information, combine it with other demographic information or information we have from the record, and then we call that advanced analytics. And through machine learning and artificial intelligence, we're able to then gain significant amount of actionable insights, which then basically, the motto I give, or the tagline that I use is, I want to be smarter now than I was an hour ago.
Sure.
So that's the speed that we're trying to get to. And my conversation with our partners, right, our telephony partners and our voice recording partners is how quickly can we process this information? How quickly can we get this to make it available so that we can run these algorithms and change things near real time? And we expect that in Q1, we'll be able to actually have artificial intelligence actually make real-time dialer modifications based on actual results.
Sure.
On basically combining all this information. But going back to the Net Promoter Score and the CSAT on Comcast, the sheer magnitude of the data and the effort it takes to basically take that information, take action, is a massive scale. And Comcast takes it seriously, we take it seriously, and I think as Herc suggested, the results are there, and it's impressive. And we continue to work on that.
Absolutely, it makes a lot of sense. My CEO of my organization is not your typical billion-dollar publicly traded CEO. He likes to just be extremely realistic with everybody, and he invests in his people a lot, and he tells us very directly what he thinks we're good at, what he thinks we're not good at. And you saying that, not knowing what different expectations are really boils down to almost our core values, because he says the same thing. He's like, all you can do is be, authentic. You can be innovative. You can be customer obsessed. But you don't know, if you do all those things, you're going to have good results. And the one that's not on the website is be relentless, which I think you might have said as well. But, looking at that, often in any organization, Lisa, looking at large scales and different cultures, people are most often really cited, the biggest challenge in a contact center with high attritions, training, different price levels? I mean, how are you overcoming that challenge in your operations internally and externally?
Yeah. Well, it's not just me who thinks that people is the biggest challenge that all leaders in service in the contact center are facing, right? And they're not new issues. Churn rates and how do you hire the right people for the right jobs? What is AI going to do to the kinds of skills we need to hire for and maintain? I mean, the list just goes on and on and on, and it's always about people. I said a moment ago, life in the contact center is hard. Although I'm sure in your place it's so everybody except Frank.
I've been working way at the door.
But the reality is the people who work in contact centers, they're not well-respected roles, they're low-paying jobs, and people who work on the front line are really trying to survive. They're trying to put food on the table. Their number one concern is probably not my brand, it's probably not your brand, it's probably, right, how do I get through the day? And I recently came across some sobering statistics, and I'm just going to read off a couple of them to you, what it's like life in a contact center. 55% of people who work in a contact center say management doesn't care about their health. 68% gain weight every month. 39.4% feel constant psychological distress. 51% feel unempowered to do the right thing. That's a pretty shitty job, right? What are we going to do as leaders to make a person's life better? Right? How do we make a person's life better? And I'm not going to say I'm good at it, but we're trying some new and different things to put personal power back on the front line. And I mentioned a moment ago, we've launched a new strategy with our customer service survey that's measuring what's happening at the point of contact between the customer and the team. And through technology, we're able to deliver a daily newsletter to everybody on the team that shows them their personal performance month to date. So they know exactly every day when they come into the contact center what their customers are thinking about them, what they're saying about them. The newsletter includes a bunch of wonderful stories about all the great things they did yesterday and some things on the other side of the fence. But every day they know what they need to do to earn their monthly bonus. And we've set up a pay-for-performance plan, even though, right, we're working with an outsourcer. This is our mission to be a trusted friend. So we're going to pay you for taking care of our customers. We have a very generous incentive bonus. And now the team is proactively taking charge of what they do every day. They know exactly what I need to change today or do differently to get my bonus at the end of the month. And how do I know this is working? Because in just a few short months since May, we've seen a 2-point increase in our customer satisfaction with service. We've seen a 2-point increase in our representative satisfaction. We've seen a 3-point increase in our first call resolution rates. They're up at 90% now. And 68% more of our team is earning a monthly bonus than they were just a few months ago. Now, what did I do differently? My policies haven't changed. My pay-for-performance plan hasn't changed. The people I've hired are the same group that was there 6 months ago. But what has changed is I've given them access to the information that they need to empower them to change their performance every day.
It's incredible, the things that we talk about from year to year, and I look at the metamorphosis of technology and the different things that we take in consideration now that we used to never even look, and you hear words like culture IQ and emotional intelligence, and before it was just butts and seats and smile and dial, you know, just more of that kind of thing. So to hear these things are so refreshing to see it just revolving as an industry. If you take care of your people and you make their job less stressful by giving them the tools, it makes everything go much, much smoother. And you know, we used to just look at CSAT. Now it's really NPS, and we're looking at not individual interactions, but overall customer journeys. And I know the cable industry, you know, anybody, you know, I've sold technology, so if you have legacy, you know, stuff there, it's been there. It's expensive. It's a level of effort to move off of it. And most consumers, when they call in, don't realize all those different things, and it can be extremely frustrating at that front line. You know, if you can kind of just share how Comcast is looking to, you know, move away from those individual interactions and really enhance the customer sales journey through its call centers, and, you know, what type of challenges are they experiencing now?
Yeah, so I mean, that's great. That's a huge accomplishment as far as some of those numbers that you read off, 90%. Having Comcast itself with our quality, going back to what we talked about, quality. To answer your question, we really need to make sure we're able to bring that the behaviors that we want to instill in the agents and the experiences that we want to open up with our customers. We really need to have a process and a way to be able to extract that, right? So, you know, we're talking about the incentive and the pay for performance, right? I know what I need to do, and this is how I do it. One of the approaches when I flip that over from an incentive to quality is we launched a sales quality excellence, and it's a shift in the methodology, whereas you are not looking at starting off with 100%, and then as you go through the call, you deduct it. Like that's the typical quality, right? So an agent's already coming in saying, I'm here, but I'm gonna start losing points, so I have to watch what I say. I have to be careful. I have to end this call because I'm gonna lose more points if we keep it going. So one of the things that we did was we kind of flipped it. We said, what are 6 key behaviors that we want? And part of those 6 key behaviors is, how does the customer feel, right? Are we owning it? Are we showing empathy? We also look at it as, you know, what is it that the customer needs? Try to put that value back in. And so the agent, as he's going through those calls, he's actually earning points. So you're building the top of the best practices and those behaviors. We do have obviously some key processes that you can deduct from at the end, but it's really enriching for the agent to say, I'm actually going to keep this call going. I'm going to want to make sure I speak with this customer and really drive the outcome versus just trying to keep it to I started with 100 and can't get more points, I'm going to stop here.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, historically, in the contact center, we're very good at telling people what they're bad at, right? You did this wrong, you missed this, right? You didn't do that.
Right.
And it's debilitating. And if, you know, you're constantly in that mode where you're just a QA score, right? Oh, you're an 87. Oh, you're a 92, right? It takes all of the you know, emotion that you want to be happening on those interactions away. And in fact, it probably matters less, you know, how you change up things to get the desired behaviors. We actually threw out our QA scorecard, so we don't score agents. So if you're an 88, I don't know that anymore. All I really am interested in is whether you solve the customer's problem. And then I rely on the customer through their survey feedback to tell me how they perceive that interaction. And that's the data that we pay them on. The QA exercise for us now is really, to use my word earlier, far more simplified, right? We went from a 30-item scorecard to 6. There's that magic number again. I need to play that number. To 6 questions, and they're all yes or no. So there are literally no scores anymore. We don't track QA. It's not part of a bonus plan. You know, did you help the customer? And then, Frank, what did your customer say about you after you helped them? And so I'm simplifying things by relying as much as I can on what the customer said, rather than my perception of how well you help the customer.
I think that's, when I think about that, it's almost like an Uber type thing where, you know, you're rating your driver. Everybody's rating their drivers. It's the same kind of thing. They're not asking them to do too much. It's just if we keep seeing that everyone says you're terrible, you're probably not that good. You know, you don't need to go do a driver assessment because it's being done every single ride from that. Frank, I mean, you're looking at it where you just don't have one line of business. You're doing a lot of different businesses, and, you know, technology, level of effort, you know, there's a cost to it, there's value to it. So many people often, you know, we need to do big data, we need to get this. Well, what do you do with it then? Are you using that, are you tying into NLU, to NLP? Is there other automations that go along with it? Can you share about how
A
you...
lot of it ties back to what we're talking about. So the biggest, having done this for many years, what we found early on in doing exercises around voice and advanced analytics and dealing with this data was it was around quality. And much like Lisa said, the limited surveys you can do with the 30-line item QA scorecard wasn't really impactful, because how many calls can I have? And then if I'm sitting with the agent, you're getting a lot of resistance because I'm telling you what's wrong. The ROI on the expense of doing this comes from automating that and having very consistent data over virtually every phone call the agent makes, so that you're looking for big rocks and trends. And then then it becomes a coaching opportunity on saying, hey, I see you doing a lot of this, as measured by every one of your phone calls. Let's talk about how we can perhaps change it, right? So look at it so it becomes, you know, you could make it punitive and say, listen, the machine listened every call and here's the negative thing. What you could say is, because I'm able to see this very quickly and magnitude, you can see positive coaching opportunities and the impact. So the data becomes significant and massive. And the ability to then leverage, as you mentioned, your technology company, a lot of the new technology, like in our case, we use Microsoft Azure and Power BI for analytics. Having access to that massive amount of data and then culling through it and then getting what I call actionable insights out of it is a bit more art than science.
Sure.
Because in the face of having access to all this information, some would suggest, well, I just want to see it all and I want to process it all, but then it becomes irrelevant, right? So at some point you have so much data that it becomes irrelevant. So there's a thoughtful process, there's some regression analysis and other statistical measures to say, okay, here's the data I have, here's what really is meaningful for us to change. And then there's the human factor, which is I got to take quantitative measures and then personalize it in this feedback. So there's this concept of human-computer interaction, or HCI as a general concept. And in a call center, it's probably perfectly exemplified, because you have the technology piece on ACDs and dialers and data, and et cetera. But you have, as Lisa mentioned, agents that perhaps have challenges in their life and therefore are in this role. And there's a heightened level of sensitivity of how to interact with them. And then you have the expectations we have as an organization on this purpose-based culture, and to have an environment that not only is successful for the agent, we're supporting our clients and our community. Putting that together is a bit complex. And, and I'll kind of self-criticize myself. I'm an engineer by training, so someone would commonly put me in the technology piece. But candidly, I'm actually more fixated on that inflection point where I have all this information in this technology, but somehow favorably impacting human interaction. And I'll be the first person in my organization, if there is a performance issue on the call floor, to not say it's an agent-related issue. That's actually the last thing I usually go to. Because I do believe in my heart of hearts that everyone comes in every day to do the best job they can. And it's up for us as an organization through accountability, as you kind of touched on, and accountability both internally and with our clients, to give them the opportunity to be successful and to support them. Because Because at the end of the day, we're interacting with our client customers. And that, that's what we're paid to do. But all that work gets to that point where that interaction takes place, and we need it to be as successful as possible, whether we're dealing with a complaint or we're trying to acquire new business. There's a lot of, I always say there's a lot of effort that goes into that. But by the time that call is made, I'd say 90% of the effort is put into it. Right?
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, we just learned quite a few things about improving the overall quality and what to do with the data that we're getting. And as technology continues to evolve, I mean, Lisa, where do you see, we just talked about, I mean, it used to just be more smiling and dialing, or maybe I just talked about that, but now emotional intelligence, all these other things, where's next? What are we going to be sitting in Princeton, New Jersey, talking about 2020 around best practices?
Well, if I do those 6 things well, 10 years from now, maybe 2 years from now, I will have no calls, all right? I'll have eradicated 100% of the contacts in my contact center, right? There's this concept of failure demand and value demand.
Right.
And, most of us are dealing with that failure demand every day, right? What has not gone well that has forced somebody to come into the contact center? And, I would love to, get rid of all of those calls and just focus on those things that add value to the business and my customers. And so in my business, the most important relationship, the most important collaboration that I have within my business is with the head of our product development team. And, to me, I think that's a more important relationship than marketing. It's, right, and anybody else in any functional area of the business. Because, everybody in this room sits on the most valuable information in your business, and that is, what do your customers want and need? And the people who can change that are your UX designers and your product managers and, right, the people that deploy all that stuff online. And when you have a direct pipeline to the UX team, that's how you improve your agents' lives. That's how you improve your customers' lives. You just keep eradicating the root cause of all of those pain points that are driving contacts into the contact center. And we've been very successful systematically lowering our call coefficient rates year over year by having that very well-developed relationship with our product team. Right? We know how to form a hypothesis, we know how to vet the data, we know how to build a case, and we know how to partner with the team to write the requirements to make certain that these product enhancements are being deployed and we can measure the result. And that systematic loop, right, we think if we keep doing that and doing it in an accelerated fashion, eventually we'll get to zero. And,
right.
And I think that's the future of the contact center, is that people who sit in the service world really need to think of themselves in the product world and figure out how to integrate UX with CX to deliver a perfect experience for your customers.
Perfectly. So yeah, I think, the key word I get from there is anticipation. It's really anticipating those customers' needs. And now with all this data and journey orchestration, we can reduce cost and increase NPS by giving them less options that are more focused on what they really want. And I know we have a couple of questions left here, but I know with just 10 minutes left, last year we ran out of questions. So I'll continue to ask them questions if nobody here has questions. But just quick show of hands, how many people have a question? All right, well, let's try it.
Hi.
Go left to right.
I think the future really for us in consumer affairs, customer experience, is turning it from a reactive to a proactive approach. And a lot of you have a customer base that you're dealing with, so you know who's, in my world, I don't know who's calling on the next call. You have a customer base. Are you looking at going proactive and reaching out based on your data? You know that a year in, this person's probably going to have a problem with this, and let me call them at 11 months to preempt that?
So I could take that from our side. We do a lot around churn analysis, churn mitigation, and we understand our customers, their behavior. So how many times have they actually called in? How many, are they under a promotion? Or what we're trying to do is, our churn mitigation tactic is more around surprise and delight. So yes, we do have data, and we know, hey, this is a customer who we really want to ensure may potentially already had there was an outage, a service outage, and they had 3 instances of it. We want to be able to, and we do have programs right now where we're actually reaching out either through email with some sort of a discount or a promotion for on-demand movies, or we'll actually, right now, you guys have probably already heard of Flex. Have anybody here not heard of Flex? So Flex is a product that's actually, we announced, and it's available across our footprint. It's a device that very much is like a Roku box, where you basically aggregate all of your streaming services. What we're doing is we're actually, for anybody who's an HSD customer, high-speed data customer only, that's the only product they have, we're actually reaching out to those customers and giving that to them for free. Because we want them to be able to have the experience of working with RX1, which is award-winning voice remote. So we want to be able to open that up to customers, and we're reaching out to our customers. So we know who our customer base are, who would be most likely to have that or enjoy that streaming service.
And that just makes sense of what you were talking about earlier. You know, you're not a cable company. You know, you're all these other things,
Yeah.
and this is probably part of your awesome tour.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting concept on kind of that proactive. I think part of some work I did a couple of years ago was looking at how different demographics interact with brands. And so it's kind of like, it's a little bit different because the availability of channels that mirror your demographics or your customers is important. But the way they ask or want information about the brand is also interestingly different. So understanding consumers' behavior is important, and some of the information I thought was fascinating. It was a study I did with Wilkie, I think, a couple of years ago for SoCal, was millennials actually rely heavily on asking people. You know, and it could be through social media or so, but they're asking friends, they're talking to people to kind of gather that information versus what you're thinking about. Maybe they're just going to the web and Googling it. But they are asking people. So when you think, so you have to go backwards all the way to the beginning of the journey when the issue happens and what decision tree takes place in order for the interaction to happen with the brand. And depending on the demographic of that specific customer, it may be very different, which then helps you need, as a brand, you need to be prepared for that. Because if you know that you're heavily millennial-based, you may actually want to just send education information out so that the self-service isn't really even on your website. It could just happen organically in the community or on social media. So the proactive nature in this case is knowing who your customers are, knowing what channel they would perhaps use to get information or make a purchase decision, and then basically setting yourself up to be in that spot with the appropriate information.
Perfect. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of it just boils down to customer empowerment. As you were referring to, Frank. Amanda, I know we have a couple more minutes left, and if we can try to sum up the responses. Chris, did you have one too? Oh, okay.
Okay, so you mentioned bonuses, monthly bonuses. I just had a quick question around the concept of team monthly bonus. So I had a pretty good fail last month. It was my first team bonus in a year. We do outbound sales appointments, so it's not inbound, it's not contact center. And so I had a team bonus. I thought it was reasonable. We used data from the past 4 months to come up with our team bonus. Fail. Nobody got their bonus. Now, I didn't have a revolt or anything, but I'm just wondering, should I just stay away from the team bonus? And has anybody else made it successful?
We don't do team bonuses. All of our pay for performance plans are for individual performance. Somebody else may have, Herc, you may have more experience in that than I do with team bonus.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's especially outbound, right? So it's as long as you make decisions based off of data.
Right.
There's, in my experience with team bonuses, you've got to be able to have something that, they buy into and it's reasonable. I'm not sure how you set it up, if it was like really a stretch, because sometimes team bonuses are trying to really kind of get them to that next level. But I would say what I've used as far as team bonus is more around gamification and introducing gamification within the team itself, like putting one person against another person and really being able to, instead of just having a team of 15 people all trying to build towards one, they're able together without you even having to get involved, they're already competing with one another and setting goals on top of another. So I would say gamification with kind of a team structure really, in my experience, has worked really well. You need to make sure that you use data. It sounded like you did.
And it sounds like you've kind of experienced a common situation. If you've got appropriate individual bonus programs that are structured, I've seen some successes on team bonuses if it's incredibly short-term, like today. Like, guys, let's do this, and you get a lunch tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, it's, the window is clear, because when you get teams, it's tough, right? Because the dynamics of who's in, who's out, who's underperforming, there's a lot of psychology to it. But if it's like a short window, like, we got a power hour, guys. If we can nail, if we can sell these RGUs X number in the next hour, like, free soda for everyone. Oh, think of something healthy. Free water for everyone.
Organic muffin.
Yeah, organic muffin. So that, if you ask everybody in the room, I'm sure you get another opinion. I could tell you, and you could look at my team, they're probably nodding. Unless the window's this small, your team bonuses, in my opinion, aren't valuable. And they only work too, is once you get these individual bonuses in place, at least our day.
Yeah, we got time for one more question, Michelle.
I actually just wanted to comment on that. I agree with everything that you guys said about bonuses, but I would also just say too, that in my experience in playing with bonuses for our teams, it's best if you drive behavior, because I do find if it's sales related, sometimes that can actually provoke some behavior you don't want to reach a sales goal. So even if your end result is a sales goal, it's best to drive those behaviors that you know will influence sales as opposed to just the end result itself.
Yeah.
So that would be
Very
my
good
only
point.
thought around the sales.
No,
Okay.
makes a lot of sense. I see Stuart coming in, and he's looking at his watch, so it's probably almost lunchtime, and I don't want to stop anybody from that, but does anyone else have another quick question? Well, I know I learned a lot, so I just really appreciate the speakers. Thank you guys.